Hi, my name is Mohammad Akmal Rakib, and we are doing a project for Jack Thompson Foundation. The vision of this project is to build houses for homeland communities in Australia, and our team project name is Go Green, Go Clean. The project basically is working towards the building construction of abolition blocks for these communities. The team consists of an architect, material specialist, a supply chain specialist, a translator who will be helping us understand the values and the language of the people, and the project manager, which is myself. Let me show you the timeline of the project now. The duration of the project is expected to be 1 year, with first 2 months being used to educate the project team with local norms, values, and some basic language skills. In the next phase, we'll be visiting sites and having meet and greet sessions with the local communities. During this time, we'll be building the initial relationship and help them understand our own selves. In the second phase, we'll be training the local communities the skills to build construction materials. Meanwhile, our supply chain management and architect specialists will be working to make the raw materials accessible and get the designs done respectively. In the final stage, we'll be working on the abolition block model with the approved design from all the stakeholders. Knowledge is one of the key competencies to undertake such a project, where general management skills allow the team to grow and survive in such circumstances. The project team needs to learn the local language, at least how to greet, apologize, construction terms, the basic ones to help the local people understand when they're onto the field and helping them train. And definitely they need to know the local places, the names of them, and the geography of that place. The team need to be very well bonded and interlinked within, considering that there will be restricted communication with the outside community because of the language and cultural barriers that they will have between. And it can make the conditions even more tougher in the times to come. Hence, the team has to be really well united and team building process has to be very strong. As a leader, I will have to take the charge and lead them from the front and keep them motivated throughout, because the conditions are definitely very harsh due to lack of facilities. My strategy will be to keep them motivated through positive kita, which can be reduced working hours, frequent social nights to keep them positive. This will have a great influence on the project to keep them motivated. As mentioned, we'll be working on evolution block, and let me take you through the scope of this project. The evolution block will have central bathing area, which will be common and allow socializing within the community. The concept of this building comes from the hammam, where there is a central place, a location where people can socialize while taking bath or washing their clothes or stuff. But the toilet area will be another section of this building, which will have a separate entrance and will have small cubicles, allowing more people to use it at the same time with the privacy. Our team will select 5 best learners with highest acceptability within the local community, and we will train them and use their influence to transfer the skill to other people within the local community. In the first phase, we will conduct material construction, material building workshops, and use the trickle-down effect to transfer this skill into larger portion of that community. In the same time, meanwhile, architect will be working on different sites, getting approvals from the locals and from the Jack Thompson Foundation, and get their approvals on designs as well during that time. Meanwhile, the supply chain specialist will be working with the locals to develop a cost-effective supply chain network and make sure all the materials are available in each of the villages according to the material requirements for each of them. Personality here is another key competency for this project. The team needs to be very creative in finding solutions due to the uncertainty throughout the timeline of the project. They need to be very alert of the norms and values of the local people, and they should be able to make sensible decisions when dealing with the locals. Apart from this, one of the most important characteristics that they need to include is trustworthiness, not just within the team but outside as well. Within the team, the trustworthiness will allow the members to count on each other, and the trustworthiness outside the team will allow locals to trust on the team as well and their skills. Once this relationship is built between the team within and outside with the locals, it will give more room for negotiations and creativity in the longer run. One of the most important aspects of this project is people's management skills. The biggest challenge and the biggest asset in this project will be managing people. Relationship building will be about adapting with local culture, sharing food with them, and being a part of their festivities. Our team will comprise of candidates who are culturally aware of indigenous communities of Australia. And the candidates will also be examined in terms of their personal commitments and their prior projects, because they will be working in long stretch of outstationed trainings. Since it will be a multi-location based project, the team will have skills. The team need to have skills to adapt in new working conditions at short notices. These skills include being emotionally intelligent. As per the author of Emotional Intelligence Meets Traditional Standards for Intelligence, John Mayer, there are many occasions when the team members in hard conditions are already challenged with the limited facilities unlike in their urban workstations. Any emotional blow related to probably personal relationships may hamper the efficiency of the team member. Emotional intelligence is also important for staying positive during the implementation of the project, and be committed to the cause, as the project will challenge the mental stability and intelligence through uncertain situations. Storytelling is another tool which allows team building, especially when the idea is new and you're working with a new audience. Considering that these indigenous people will be undergoing a major lifestyle shift, definitely for their betterment, but storytelling will allow my teammates to really bond well with these locals. During the project, it is very important to ensure that ethical guidelines are strictly followed. It includes that neither me nor my team should have any conflict of interest while working for this project. These regions are rich with natural resources including timber, coal, and many other precious stones, which can be of great business opportunity. Manipulating the locals and using the relationships built during the project to start our own business will be a very unethical act. Likewise, it is also important that our project team acts very professionally in other aspects of relationships, considering that these indigenous communities have very conservative and traditional approach to relationships with opposite gender, and trespassing the ethical limitations of such personal relations may make things very difficult. Another very common ethical dilemma arises when team members reflect favoritism or biasness towards certain members of the team. Since we need a very strong unit to survive the challenging conditions, hence favoritism will only make the team work weak within. My ethical standards for decision making in this project will come from individual versus community. I will have to make decisions which is beneficial for the entire community rather than favoring an individual for my own interests. Long term versus short term. I would want to build abolition blocks which are long lasting and easy to maintain. For this, the quality of raw materials and their design will be of special importance to us. Trust versus loyalty. I would like to act honestly with the project stakeholders, which also include the local communities, rather than just being loyal to the project owner, which in our case will be Jack Thompson Foundation.
Justice versus mercy. I will be I will have to take a right mix of letting go of certain mistakes and taking strict actions on other to ensure the mistakes are not repeated. According to the author Ross, in his article Water Supply and Sanitation in Remote Indigenous Communities Priorities for Health Development, the research shows that many communities do not have a reliable water supply and experience frequent and prolonged breakdown in sewage systems. For example, 12% of communities of 50 people or more experience 5 or more periods of water restrictions in a year period, and 10% of communities experience sewage overflow or leakage 20 or more times in a 1 year period. Items of basic household infrastructure regarded as essential for household hygiene are missing or not functional in many community owned dwellings. For example, in one third of houses, bathroom taps and toilet drainage required major repairs. The lack of proper sanitation and sewage system has led to contamination of water on land and underground. As we take a look at the various diseases in this table, we realize how improvement in water quality can reduce the chances of catching these infections. This also means that waterborne diseases contribute significantly to high rates of illness in indigenous children living in remote areas and should top the priority of any initiative that aims to improve the health of the locals. It has been a long standing challenge for governments in Australia to improve the health status of indigenous communities residing here. The gap in health status between indigenous and non indigenous Australians has always been unacceptably wide. It has also been identified by various human rights authorities, including United Nations itself, and it has also been acknowledged by Australian government and are working hard to improve these conditions. According to Lisa in her book Sustainability for Educators, she says, and I quote, people will look at sustainability through the lens of their own values. What makes or breaks sustainability practice is how well you deal with people's values. As a project management team, we have to ensure that the transformation through our project is also sustainable, and for that, the norms and habits of these communities must be incorporated when designing their ablution blocks. No wonder why we have suggested a design similar to hammam concept, allowing a common socializing area during the bath and washing activities, and separate cubicles for toilets. Indigenous people do not have equal opportunity to be as healthy as non-Indigenous Australians, and it has been supported by various surveys conducted by uh, independent human rights committees. The relative socio-economic disadvantage experienced by Aboriginals and Torres Strait Islanders people compared to non-indigenous people places them at great risk of exposure to behavioral and environmental health risk factors, as does the higher proportion of indigenous households that live in conditions that do not support good health. Indigenous peoples also do not enjoy equal access to primary health care and health infrastructure, which include safe drinking water, effective sewage systems, rubbish collection services, and healthy housing, for which we are trying to create this abolition block to improve this infrastructure. As we take a look at the work of these blocks, we need to see how we will be training them to build their own structures on their own in future, according to their changing needs. These specialized trainings in building materials and then using each of these in right part of building units will help indigenous communities learn more quickly. Once the basic skills are learned, it is human nature to innovate over time, and we expect the same from them to make new structures later on based on these skills. As discussed earlier, we aim to transform the lives of these indigenous communities by improving the hygienic conditions of their ablution practices. With a stable clean water supply and well-structured sewage system, there will be a sharp decline in the waterborne diseases. Better facilities also mean that it will reduce the gap between the non-indigenous population and indigenous communities of Australia, increasing the civic sense which will encourage more young minds from these areas to access the education in urban cities of Australia and then uplift the living standards of people back home.